What is good, everyone? What is good? Hope everyone is doing well. Gonna make a part two to how to vet. Today we're gonna talk about vetting a woman. So make sure that you guys are sending these to your loved ones, males and females, particularly for the males. So I got something like 78, almost 80% of my subs are ladies. This one is for the men. So if you have men in your life, make sure that they watch this. Send it to your kids, nephews, to your cousins, brothers, etc., right? Particularly if they're having a hard time, right? They always seem to run into the bad girl, right? So this one's going to be for them. And also, I have a whole playlist. I have a playlist for the men, playlist for the women, and yeah, and one about just about leveling up, which is really kind of for everyone. So that's kind of the way the channel evolved, and a lot of people are asking questions, which is why I'm commenting on what I'm commenting on. So let's get to it. So vetting a woman. What does it take to vet a woman, right? We talked about vetting a man. What does it take to vet a woman, right? So first thing is you got to know what you want. Same thing I told the women. You got to know what you want. You got to know what you want in a woman. What type of woman are you looking for? Did a live show in which we talked about the experts and what their expert opinion is about mating and dating and all that kind of stuff. I didn't agree with a lot with what they said. However, we did have a good comment section going, chat. And part of the chat was, well, I mentioned, growing up in church, is that like I would hear the preachers say, the guys want to run around in the world, and then when they want a good girl, right, they'll run to the church. I think I was watching, I think a show like that, we talked about the same thing, was like Happy Days. Everybody remembers that show. Pretty sure the Fonz at one point said, if you know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to explain it to you. So he said that, if you want a good girl, right, you got to go to the library, right? So in other words, the good girls are not going to be in the bars and the clubs. They're not going to be there, right? Good girls that you want, they're not going to be there. So figure out, number one, what you want, what type of girl you want, right? Nothing wrong with making a list. And, do you have anyone in your life who you consider to be a good woman? Do you have anyone in your life who you consider to be a good woman? And cousins, aunts, mother, grandmother, etc. Is there any of these people, in your estimation, in your opinion, a good woman that you would want to model, that you would feel comfortable if they would watch your kids and have your kids? And that's the same type of philosophy that you ought to have when you are vetting for a woman, right? So you gotta vet this woman in the same way, right? Is she going to make a good mother? Is she going to make a good wife? Is she, you got to ask yourself that, right? So you got to see how she interacts, what her kindness level is, what's her temperament, what's her, does she have a lot of patience? Does she get angry easily? Is she always frustrated, right? So here's a couple of things, some things that you really got to consider that I don't think that people consider enough. And that is women, police officers over there, make sure I don't get pulled over. Women have a very, very intricate relationship with the children. And, while we often talk about the male responsibilities and how they affect the psychology of children as they grow up, keeping them out of trouble, people with no fathers in the home have greater chances of mental illness, increased chances of going to jail, increased chances of depression, increased suicidal rates, all that kind of stuff, which is all true. But another factor, which is also true, which is also in the criminological and psychological literature, is the mother's mental stability. The more mentally stable a woman is, the better children she's going to produce. So you want to make sure that you have a woman who's not dealing with any mental illness, very stable, knows where she's going, accomplished. A lot of times children accomplish the same level of education as the mother. So you want to make sure that you choose an educated woman, right? Don't just go out here sleeping with Pookeishas. Lord, I hope there's nobody actually named Pookeisha. It wouldn't surprise me though, but you can't go around you gotta watch that. So be very cautious and careful when you're selecting these women and making sure that they have their ish together, right? You want to you're not only selecting a woman to sleep with or marry, but you're selecting potential. If you want to have kids, some of your mother of your kids. How does does she have a daughter or son right now? How does she treat them? How does she talk to them? Right? Part of the vetting process. Part of the vetting process too is making sure that you take a look at her family in the same way that is to look at yours. What's her relationship like with her father? What's her relationship like with her mother? What does she believe in traditions? Is she religious? Is she, one thing you have to make sure that people are mentally stable. And this can be a difficult issue. It's as I record this, it's back to school season. School buses are all over the place, right? Is she mentally stable, right? So sometimes people can be overly religious, overly into what I would call woo. I'm calling it that, right? Overly religious, overly into woo, overly into astrology. You get what's best for you. And I'm telling you, I find my own personal opinion is that I find people who like that, who really have difficult times really seeing the world for the way that it is. I need practicality, but you got to do what's best for you. Again, this is about you and what you're looking for. We all know that we want someone who's fit, feminine, and friendly, right? But what does that mean to you, right? Everybody is not. Some people really like them plumps. Some people like that, right? Some people like to argue. Some people like that. I personally don't like to argue. I want someone who is fit, feminine, and friendly. I'm not, you don't have to go to the gym every day, but we can go for walks once in a while, right? Sometimes a little extra meat is nice. Sometimes, but overall, because I'm trying to live a certain way and eat a certain way, I don't want that to be a conflict within my life. That brings me up to another point about making sure that she's not going to bring any conflict in your life, right? She's got to be cooperative, fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, sweet, submissive, right? That means I don't want any argumentation. I don't mind banter back and forth. Sometimes I like a little, what you say? What you talking about, girl? Right? So sometimes I like that, right? So, but you got to do what's best for your personality. Taking a look at her family, taking a look at how she treats her brothers, and all that, right? How driven is she? Is she more about her career? And again, this is going to be an individual thing. I'm not going to speak generality. I'm speaking to you to try to get what you want and what you need in your relationship. So if you are fine with a woman who's very, very much career driven, understand that she may be working long hours and that her career might come first and children might be put off. And, as Ebony K. Williams said, right, if you want to take a vacation, but she's got to do this program or she's got to be at this function or luncheon or make these connections, she can't go with you. You're going to be okay with that. So, she's going to get on your program, you're going to be on hers. This is all part of the vetting process, right? Some people, are you into, these are in no particular order, I'm kind of just spitballing these, right? Are you into tattoos? Are you into a woman who swears a lot, right? I particularly don't like that. I don't like a woman who is constantly using foul language. I don't like a woman who's all tatted out, full sleeves and all. I don't like that. I don't like that in a woman. I think it's very unladylike. A key concept is to keep in mind that men and women think very differently about what they want. Women generally want a man who's very much career driven, who's very much on their game and very motivated. Men are looking for someone who's going to get on their program. That's in generalities, but some people don't mind that. There's a new concept that I heard, a couple of months ago called DINK, right? Dual earners, DINK or DANK, dual earners, no kids. Dual earners, no kids, right? So they just want to, some men nowadays don't want to have kids. They just want to travel the world, have a nice woman by their side. I've met people like that. I've met men and women like that. I don't want to have kids, but I want a man. I want to be married, we just want to live in our tiny house and travel. And I got no smoke for that. I got no whatever. It's whatever you like. It's whatever you like. So, but part of the vetting process is making sure that she's a real person and not a chameleon, right? She's not just putting on fronts and airs in order to get what you want, right? You gotta get what you want. You gotta vet sometimes it's gonna take months to try to get that, right? So one thing that a friend of mine told me is that you have to make sure that you see that woman mad at least one time in your relationship. Because to get married, and here's, to get married, it's such an investment. It's such an investment of your time. If you watch the video, it was a great live that we did with, not, it wasn't with him, but we discussed it, Ask an Older Man, his channel, Paul. And he was talking about, the possibilities that could happen to a man, in particular, because they're usually the primary breadwinners, if you choose wrong. And he talked about, you're signing up for, and you have the potential to be signing up to give away half of your stuff and to go sexless. And I'm going to tell you, man, when I was 25, 26, I was a monster. it's just, you got this drug running through you, man. And to sign up to be in that situation where really, if you're healthy and stuff, you really don't, you slow down a little bit, but you can still get it done. And to be with someone who's going to take that away from you, that's a position I can't deal with. I couldn't deal with that. So you got to make sure that you guys are sexually compatible. That's a good conversation you need to have. Make sure you're compatible about your sex life, what you like to do. Tell her your kinks and freakish behaviors. See how she responds to it. Make sure she's down for it, right? That's why a lot of people want to try it out first. Like, how's this going to be? It's another conversation for another day. But how your sexual habits, what are drinking habits? I don't like a drunk. I don't like that. I don't like a drunk woman. I don't like a woman who swears all the time. I don't smoking. If you're into drugs, if you smoke weed and you're good with her smoking, y'all can smoke weed together. I have no smoke for that. Y'all enjoy your lives together. So make sure you guys are on the same accord about your cigarette habits, any other vices. You tell her about your drug addictions or habits or past gambling habits. Make sure she tells you about hers, and ask her about her traumatic experiences. You don't want to be touching her the wrong way. I'm talking about, when she was a kid, something like 1/3 of all women, it's probably higher than that, been touched when they were kids. But we'll just go with that. 1/3 of women have been touched when they were kids, right? You got to ask about that. You don't want to say something that's going to be triggering. You don't want to do something or touch in a certain way that's going to be triggering. So you got to figure all that out. You got to have all these conversations. Anything that I'm thinking of, that you can think of, if you have a 15-point list and all that, make sure you cover all 15 points and don't let cries and tears shut you off. Be very, very. Here's one thing I'm going to tell you from experience. You got to be very intentional, and you cannot be you must be motivated. As a man, you must be motivated by your stoicism, your intellect, and your assertiveness. Here's what I mean by that. If you start talking about stuff, you can't let her tears persuade you or dissuade you from any course of action that you want to take. Let me say that again. If you're a man and you start talking about something that's very, very troublesome, traumatic, you gotta push through that. You're talking about marriage, you gotta push through that. Not because you're trying to hurt her, because you're trying to bring up things from the past, but you gotta get through that. You gotta understand that this woman and her past experiences is worth being taken under your protection. That's the way we got to look at it, right? You're coming underneath my umbrella, my protection, and I need to know everything about you. Were you touched as a kid? Were your past boyfriend, was he abusive? Did he put his hands on you? What was going on? All the intimate details. And don't let her say, I can't talk about this now. Maybe not now, but next week we're gonna revisit this, because I need some answers. Right? This is all part of the vetting process that you got to have. And this, yeah. Yeah. So you got to have all these different types of conversations, right? What's her family's history like, right? Physical history, mental health history, relationships, abuse, criminal behavior for one reason or another runs in families. Criminal behavior for one reason or another runs in families. So again, you're not just marrying her, you're marrying her family, and all the trauma and all the criminal activities and all the mental health issues. You're coming into that. You're taking under your protection and all that. So you need to make sure that you do a good job of asking all these questions. And again, don't be dissuaded or persuaded. Don't fall for the crocodile tears in the waterworks. And I can't talk about this. And I just this is something I'm trying to put behind me. It was my past and it doesn't matter. No, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. So you got to get to the answer, and you got to, and you go home and think about it. Go home, take a long drive, take a couple of days, and you ponder, you think, you reflect, you do what you got to do to make sure that this woman. Actually, I'm gonna go this way. You make sure that this woman is really what you're looking for, can really be a solid staple for you, because as negative as this may, you got to see what she's like when she's on her friend monthly visitor. How is that going to be, right? So so yeah, these are all things you really got to take time to really kind of vet, because again, men are generally sought after for their stoicism and for their ability to lead, and you have to make sure that she's able to be led and that she has the temperament to be led. Again, this is what you want, right? So you got to make sure that you're looking for all those types of things, that you are vetting for all those types of things, and that you are able to understand and make sure that she can get on your program and will be able to follow you, right? Because you're going to have to regulate. This sounds pejorative. I'm trying to make sure I say this nicely, but you are, in many cases, you're going to have to regulate her emotions. She's going to try to say things, but you're the type of man who's listening to this content. You want to be the leader of your home. And you want to make sure that she is capable of following your lead and making sure that she is capable. This is not it. This guy's behind me. Like, where's this guy going? Here it is. You want to make sure that she's capable of following your lead, when, in particular, when she's got these different emotions going on and these different chemical actions and reactions that are going on. So you have to make sure that she's going to be with the program and you can manage that, right? You need somebody who you can manage, and who can, again, follow your lead. So these are just some ideas that I'm trying to put forth to you today, to try to make sure that you do a good job of vetting and seeing the whole person, their inner and outer being, their inner and outer presence, how they think, how they process information. A lot of times, man, you got to make sure that the person is really up to par with how they process and see the world. And you come from different backgrounds and all that. And what kind of backgrounds do you come from, right? If she came from a very religious background, do you come from that? Are you able to deal with that, right? How is that going to work out with the kids? How's that going to work out with you all getting together, right? Are you a very easily influenced person who can and who may be easily influenced and talked out of doing what's best for you, right? Because a lot of times, some people can be very manipulating. Some people can be very convincing to go along and to do things that are not in your best interest. So you have to hold strong. You have to hold strong. So can you hold strong? Don't let waterworks mess you up, So, all right, so let's continue on with that. So I had to pause for a minute there. Yeah, so does the woman have kids? Does she want to have kids? Is she able to have kids? You got to ask all those different types of questions. Want to have kids? Can't you have kids? How many kids does she want? Right? Has she had any baby deletions? Why were that? Why was that? Right? How many does she have? Right? So, I'm a firm believer, man, that a lot of these marriage laws need to change, man. And one of the things, man, is this bait and switch type of idea. I want 3 kids, and you get together, and she gives you one. It's like, I really don't want to have any more. That'll be grounds for and I'm not in favor of just bouncing. I'm really not. But like we make it too easy to switch up on people. And maybe the first one was really, really traumatic. Maybe the first baby was really traumatic. I have a friend like that. He's like, the woman's like, I want to give you more, but it was just too bad. And she had a really, really bad experience. So, have these conversations. How does she do financially? Man, you got to ask that question, right? How is she doing financially, right? Does she have any student loans? How does she doing balancing a budget, right? She's making, let's just throw out a number. She's making $80K a year, but she's, $100,000 in debt between student loans and just credit cards. Like, what's going on here? What's the plan to pay this off, right? Being financially astute, financially, with it is, I don't know if men are really generally better with that. I've heard that. I don't know, if there's any literature about that. But I met some ladies who really know how to balance a checkbook and do it better than I. I'm like, all right, you got it, right? They do a really good job at that, right? And are not, not into name brand labels and all that, right? Listen, I can only tell you what I like. But you got to do what's best for you. And if you don't mind spending money on your girl and making sure she's got new, $2,500 bags and stuff, then, to me, that's waste. And I wouldn't deal with it. I wouldn't deal with a woman like that. I'm not dealing with a woman who's constantly harassing me about buying her a new bag, and I got to keep up the latest fashions, and every year I got to get a brand new wardrobe, and I always got to get my hair done. If I do anything for you, it's because I want to do it, and because whatever. But this idea that this is part of the bills and stuff, man. This is part of dating me, and this is the benefit of dating me and all this. You're just gonna squeeze out there. I applaud that. It was mad dangerous what you just did, but I applaud that. So you gotta have that conversation. They probably need a light at that intersection. It's probably time for a light. I don't like lights, but it's a bad intersection. So you gotta have that conversation, man. You gotta have that conversation. So, and don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it to ask. You guys should be doing background checks, just like I advocate for the background check to be done on her for him. She should do it for the guy. But there's some women out there with some, believe it or not, with some shady past and stuff, right? They've done a bid. They've done some time. Got to figure that out. And what was it for and all that? Is she on parole, probation? You got to do a drug test every week? What's up? What's going on? So these are all questions you got to figure out, right? Do a background check, hire a private investigator if you must, right? If you can't find any information out, right? Is she really divorced, right? How long she been divorced? How long? When was her last relationship? Why didn't that last relationship work out? What does she do for a living? Does that matter to you? Does she want to work from home? All right. What's the plan? Does she want to, is she really, really career driven, or she rather work at home? And what's your preference as a man? Does that not matter to you? It might matter, and try to think, I want to say, try to be forward thinking, try to think proactively, right? What's life going to be like when she has kids? What's life going to be like 10 years from now? Well, what's the market going to be like? What does she do for a living? What's her degree in, right? I saw on Instagram today, it was just a bunch of comical degrees, and I don't know if they said they graduated with that, or that's what they studied. It was I wasn't sure about that, but it was funny. So what's your degree in? Can it make you any money? Does that matter to you? Again, that matter to you. Relationship like with her kids. Is he physically what you want? The big question is, are you physically, here's a big one you got to ask. Are you physically what she wants? Are you physically what she wants? What's her type? That's huge, because you don't want to be as we've been talking about, the backup guy, right? If you watch the episode again of the live that we did, these ladies have a type, and there's something that really is that they really are attracted to, and I agree. I believe that a man, that you got to be everything that she wants. And I know that's hard. But to the best of your ability, man, you got to be everything that she's looking for. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially, because it's a big risk that you're putting yourself into, and things don't work out, man. You don't need that. I had a friend in the PD. I don't know what happened, man, but he met this girl that it was like a whirlwind type of thing. 3-4 months, they're married. It wasn't long. 3 or 4 months they were married. She had a kid. No, she had a kid. So it had to be longer than that. She had a kid, so it had to be longer than that. Let's just say it was a year. The whole relationship was a year, because she definitely got pregnant and had the kid, because he was telling us the story, and he had a DNA test, and the DNA test came back, it was not his kid. And after all this, right, DNA test not your kid, and it was a very short period of time. I'm talking about, it had to be minimum a year. It wasn't 2, because the baby wasn't that old. Does a DNA test, and they got divorced, and the judge made him give up $10,000 from his pension. $10,000, and the baby's not yours. But okay, but you got to give her something. You got to give her something. This is what this is the craziness that guys are waking up to. The guys are like, I'm not signing up for that. I'm not signing up for that. I mean, that's a real story from a guy I really worked with. Take $10,000 out and give it to her. Ladies, you guys want to get married? You want men to marry you? You want men to step up and not be afraid and all? You have to lobby. Listen, this what you're doing is too much. Because it stops the good dudes from doing it. Like I'm not even think about getting married. Why would I? What? I gotta give $10,000 to some woman who I married her to do the right thing in order to. I married her to do the right thing, and I want to bring, okay, we're gonna make this thing work. I will be a family. She lied to me, sleeping with other people while she knew me, had a baby, tried to pass it off as mine, do a DNA test, not mine, and I got to give her $10,000. And you want other men to sign up for this? If I'm the governor, listen, I don't know. I don't know how the inner workings of the politics that work, the law. But if I'm the governor, I'm removing that judge. If I'm the governor, get off the bench. I don't care what the law is. I don't care. I don't care what the law says. I don't care what I don't care what it says. That's crazy. It's crazy. $10,000. It's not your kid. All right. So that's the vetting process. I think I made this long enough. I hope I was comprehensive. So you got to think of things, what's going to matter to you, your life goals, your life dreams. Make sure that she's in line with your life goals, life dreams, that she wants to do everything you want to do. She believes in headship, leadership. Some ladies don't. Make sure you talk all that out. Um, you know, you got to buy a car every couple of years. What's her finances like? Do background checks. You guys should be looking at each other's credit scores, all that kind of stuff, right? Because you don't want to buy, financially, right? You go to the hospital, those finances are on her, and same vice versa, they're on you. So there's a lot that's taken into account, right? So you got to make sure that she's able to handle all this, particularly if something ever happens to you. She got to make sure that she's stable and has her game together, particularly if something ever happens to you, that she can raise your children. So there's a whole long vetting process, a lot of questions to be asked, a lot of temperament to be assessed, and do your due diligence and don't rush into it. I just told you the story about a dude who rushed into it. Do not rush into it. Don't let the waterworks come. Don't let I'm religious and this is gonna hurt my family if I'm listen. I would not fall for that. I would not fall for that. I think you got to be very, very cautious because men and women, both ways, but the men, I just told you the story about that. That you are signing up to be the financial breadwinner, and that's the world may socially be thinking that it's one way, but legally they have not caught up yet, and that's the problem. Is legally they have not caught up yet. So you want to make sure that your woman that you're going to put on your arm and you're going to slide a finger on, that she can do it without you, and if she's faithful, loyal, the kids are really yours. I think mandatory DNA testing at birth should be a thing, or if they can do it in the womb now. I'm not exactly sure about the science of that, but if they can do it in the womb, do it. I wouldn't put my I don't care if I'm married or not. I know that in some states the law still says that, but we got to get a DNA test. It's too much to risk. Too much to risk. Because a lot of times it's not just the marriage time, but they're counting all the time you were boyfriend and girlfriend. A lot of people don't talk about that. It's not just the time within matrimony, but they base it on the time they were married. And I have friends who were in the PD with me. This is not a rich thing. Who were in the PD with me, who got divorced, and they were calculating, okay, you guys were together for 8 years, but you were boyfriend and girlfriend for 2 more. That put you at 10, so you got to pay for 10. I'm telling you, that's the way that it was. For more than one person, I've heard that about. So listen, I'm not a lawyer, but this is what I've heard, and I'm assuming that all these people are telling me the truth. So, and this puts a lot of fear in you as a man. So you got to be very cautious about what you're doing and the financial responsibility that you are taking on. Again, the laws are not caught up. They look at you as this type of person, despite the fact that the women are getting more degrees, despite the fact that women are now becoming, in some households, becoming breadwinners. They're not looking at that. Still antiquated in that. Not all the time. There's a lot more women paying alimony and all that. True. So I'm going to leave it off there. I don't want to make this too long. It's probably too long already. But I just want to throw that out there. Try to vet women the best you can. If there's anything that I missed, make sure that you do it. Make sure that she allows you your boy time, your free time, your man time. That is essential because you need time to decompress, right? You can't come home from work, have to come home and manage her emotions, let her download her day on you, and then you don't have any time for your video games, your hobbies, your peace of mind. You got to make sure that she understands that I need time to relax and unwind too. And I don't relax and unwind the same way that you do. So you relax and unwind, maybe by talking, maybe by knitting, maybe by doing whatever hobbies you do. But here's the way that I relax and unwind. And you have to respect that. I have another friend of mine in the PD, and he made it very clear, this is what I need to relax, right? We run around all day. We're dealing with the stress of the job. And he was in the military, so he had some stuff going on. So, and this is how I need to relax every day. So don't come with me with all this craziness when I first walked through the door. So he was very, very upfront about what he needed. And so I appreciated that when, he's telling me about that. So anyway, that's it. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Much love and peace, everyone.